Welcome to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go, a look at modern and retro games with a dark sense of humor. Introducing your hosts, Steve.
Well, I'm a wreck now.
Harry.
Put it in my mouth.
Clark.
That man had one testicle and hit home runs, goddammit.
And Joe.
This went off the rails very quickly.
Let's start the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go! All right, to my left we have Joe.
I want to move up to a 45. I want to be able to put him down with one shot.
To my other left I have Steve.
You fuck young boys, Valdez.
And always my bottom, and returning to the podcast, Harry.
Hey, I know you. No, you don't. You know what other quote I really like though? Hey, I want to make homicide. You know you really made it then. The amount of times I heard that one.
What were you doing to the body, Ferdinand? Promise not to be mad? Try me. I was kissing it. Just gets belted.
Well deserved. He was a fucking creep.
Yeah, that dude was a creep. So, if you couldn't tell from our little quotes there, tonight we are going to be reviewing LA Noire. But first, this episode is brought to you by Deep Creek Glassworks. Deep Creek Glassworks has been making hand-blown durable glass art since 2013. The season of love is upon us. You'll be able to order your heart ornaments and much more shortly. They'll be offering a special deal between February 6th and 14th for Valentine's Day. You'll receive 25% off your order when you buy 2 or more items. Mention something you've ordered or received for a personal touch. The magic of podcasting and reading off of a script.
You killed Joe. You killed Joe.
Oh my god.
Oh man. Fuck. Did I mention I made it like 3/4 of the way through my fucking beer by the time we got the recording started?
Oh boy.
I'm crying. That was good.
One thing that I have received from Steve for Christmas was actually a really awesome glass. We all have them. They're great glasses. They're durable, and they change colors when you put different temperatures of liquid in them, which is awesome. Ornaments, glassware, and much more. You can't find something that tickles your fancy? Just ask. And for our listeners, you'll receive 10% off your first order when using promo code SUPERFUN. All orders are shipped in crush-resistant boxes and all with free shipping. That's right, free. Show your love for small business and visit deepcreekglassworks.com. That's works, spelled W-O-R-X today.
Also,
Holy
check
shit.
out
I'm fucking crying.
the Etsy and Instagram always has some stuff on there. So, but yeah, that was a 10 out of 10 read.
Oh man.
It's a new ad. I'm not used to seeing that written there. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I know. Mention something you've ordered or received for a personal touch. Oh.
Whoops.
Oh, that's a producer note.
Yeah, we don't have a legend at the top where it says, "Oh, anything in parentheses is stage action."
Just one more shout out. Just thank you to all our Patreon donors. This episode we have supporting the show, Helly, Kingston Capate, and Andy Hess.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, guys, let's get into some initial impressions. Joe, how about you start us off?
I heard a lot about this game. Just, being like a Rockstar game and everything like that. I knew like the premise of it. I didn't realize the gameplay aspect of it was going to be kind of what it is, outside of the press X for doubt meme that's obviously very popular. So I was kind of excited to get into this because I like the time period it's set in and everything like that. So I had some vague idea about it, but I was really looking forward to getting into it. And I think it was kind of what I expected.
All right, how about you, Harry?
I knew very little about this game. It was not exactly what I was expecting. I thought this was going to be... I mean, the way this game is kind of portrayed, it's like in a bunch of series of different cases that you do, and a lot of the cases until the end of the game are all very standalone. I thought this was going to be like one big mystery, like thriller that you have to solve over the course of whatever. So I thought it was just going to be one continuous storyline instead of a bunch of segmented pieces. But yeah, no, I honestly, other than my guessing at that, I knew nothing about this game.
All right, Steve.
So this was actually a game that I pre-ordered when I first heard of it because I was thinking, oh, it's Rockstar. This is going to be like GTA, but you're the detective. Not exactly what it was, but it is something that I played an okay amount. I think I only got through about 30 to 40% of the game the first time, and then as per tradition for me, something else came out and I completely got distracted and forgot it existed. So once it came back up for the podcast, I was looking forward to it because I'm like, oh, now I can actually beat it and remember that this was a game. So yeah, I was looking forward to it.
Fair enough. Much like you, I also pre-ordered the game, and I played through, like, I want to say through Homicide, I think. I saw the end of Homicide and then stopped playing the game, which would have been a really great way to end the game. But I was excited to get back into it because I had fond memories of it. We'll get into how I feel about it now.
Ooh.
All right, let's switch gears here and get into some development.
Game development.
Does anyone have any development?
Yeah, this game was made by like a real like unheard of company. So I mean, I don't know where they came out with this or even had the money to do it.
It was 2K, right?
Yeah. Rockstar game. So I think that meant something a little different back in 2011. It's not just GTA 5 machine now. But yeah, it was released in May of 2011. It used a type of software and like for like the facial expressions that I don't think was really ever seen before.
I think I remember reading that too.
Yeah.
That it was like the first time it was implemented in a game.
Yeah.
Mocap and like really attention to detail.
Especially on like the face, because like I think what was it, like 32 cameras surrounding the actors and pointing at like every different direction, like on their face to get the subtle like eyebrow movements, like a tiny little twitch in the cheek, which could mean all the biggest difference when you're actually like interrogating these people. So that was, I remember, like a whoa moment just to see that depth of detail put into something for 2011.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing. And like also just the whole Rockstar development cycle is, unless a bunch of people get fired while working on the project, there's like no news about it unless they want to put it out there. Yeah. They're pretty tight ship when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on the DLC because I feel like it kind of goes along with development.
Okay.
In not necessarily in all games, but I think this game it kind of does, because the DLC came out like a month like after the game. Some of it, like it was like they basically sporadically added missions in the game, but they came out with like 1 month increments between them. But not to get like into the story, but just to explain it, they also didn't make it so like you could play these DLC missions standalone. If you beat the game at launch and then this extra single case came out, you had to replay the entire game to get to that case again.
Yep.
And if you have the DLC, you also can't skip it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword with this game. It's very weird how they implemented that. So it's pretty obvious that they kind of had all of this done prior to launch anyway, based on, like I said, original game release versus DLC release. It's very weird.
Yeah.
So I think it was also funny how they had a lot of licensing in this game on some things. Like all the cars were licensed, like era licensed cars. I don't know what like time frame has anything to do with that, like after 80 years, if it's just like do whatever you want kind of thing. But I also thought it was weird how like the Hollywood sign wasn't the Hollywood sign, it was Hollywood Land.
Yeah.
So I was like, I couldn't understand what they were doing with like that part of the development and like getting licensing deals done and things like that. It was very weird. Like I didn't know what to expect, whether it was just like a complete ripoff or what was actually real, and sometimes, and how they like decided to do certain things. It was very weird.
I'm not a historian in any sense, but I believe
What?
there was something after Hollywood and it fell down at some point in history.
Yes, it originally did say Hollywood Land. It was
Oh, interesting.
it was originally put up in 1923.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, that makes more sense then.
And I think once the land fell down, they just didn't replace it, and it just
Correct.
became Hollywood.
They were just like, this works.
Let's track our clues into the story.
Story.
Los Angeles, the year 1947. The streets are filled with nice suits, morphine, and murder. Ex-Marine Cole Phelps, the lone white knight detective to stand amongst the scum of the earth, solving a series of cases ranging from traffic, arson, vice, and homicide, taking on the Black Dahlia murder. Through the twists and turns of the story, you find aside from the cases that there is a game afoot. Ex-Marines are flooding the city with stolen morphine to make a push at being top dogs in the street game. Phelps busts the ring, but while doing so, gives up the humanity by cheating on his wife and gives up the ghost while trying to save his new love. Join us as we discuss L.A. Noire.
I was transported right now. Like, I just saw
To Los Angeles, the year 1947.
I was just right back there. I'm on a street corner, just watching everything go by. You know, the light and.
All right, so I kind of just... This game is hard to really... We're not going to talk about every single case in this because there's like 28 fucking cases. What I was thinking of doing was kind of like, we can kind of pick and choose some cases to talk about. I think the Black Dahlia murder is something that we should definitely talk about, as it's like probably one of the better parts of the game in general. And then just the overarching story of like him and the Marines.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I kind of don't mind just kind of like traveling through more like the department rather than the specific cases.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. So, I mean, like most, you start on the beat, you start on patrol. That's where you start earning your chops.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Fresh off the boat from being a Marine.
Yeah. So, I mean, patrol was pretty much, hey, here's your tutorial.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And then things really stepped up when you got into traffic.
Yeah, you just start finding bodies in trunk, or not bodies in trunks, but bodies and cars covered in blood. And
yeah, it's like, for traffic, I thought it's like,
yeah, I thought it was gonna be like hit and runs or whatever.
Yeah, I know, right?
Stolen cars and everything. You know, like it's
not murders involving cars.
Yeah, I know.
Right. And like, you know, you can tell exactly like what each one is just by what desk you're on. You know, like traffic, everything has to do with a car. Arson, everything has to do with a fire. Vice, everything has to do with drugs. Homicide, all murders.
Yeah. And then traffic, you go from there's like some like attempted murders and, you know, people just being evasive, and then it ends with rapey Hollywood. Like they really covered everything in traffic, apparently.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. The game really kind of, it gets gritty. It has no problem going there. And that's actually something that I do appreciate about that, because like they could have sugarcoated a lot of like the guts and grime of this game, but it's Rockstar and they were like, fuck it, we're going for it. And that is something that I can appreciate about it.
Yeah. And that was something. It got kind of heavy sometimes. You're like, oh god. All right, they're not really fucking around. Let's get into it.
The young actress being kind of like seduced, raped, and like videotaped, like that's rough.
Yeah,
that was like a turning point in the game for me.
Yeah, and then like attempted to be killed. And then you start going down the road of everything, and she was like set up by her aunt because she knew the producer would want a young girl, and is like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, and then like you're like investigating that area, and then you find like that they record all of these, and you see all the canisters, and you're like, fuck,
The
this is
secret room that has the window that looks into the casting couch and the other one that looks into the bathroom. It's like, holy shit. And then the photos upon photos up on the wall of like all their victims that this happened to. It's like, holy shit.
yeah, drugging them. It's just it goes to a very real thing that like not a lot of people are ready to like digest.
Yeah.
Which honestly, with the amount of critical acclaim this game got, it's surprising to see. But also, actually, that case has like one of the really like the cooler moments where you're hunting the dude down and like running around the movie studio.
Oh yeah, the
as it's
old
falling
old
apart.
movie set. That was pretty neat. It's like, all right, everything is literally collapsing around me, and you just have to keep moving. And I think that was probably like the biggest action sequence like up to that point. So then you started getting a taste of that. At least I think it is.
Yeah,
Some
well,
of the
it's
reaction things in the game.
Yeah, it's a giant set piece though. Like it is just this bit like they that's one of the longer missions in Traffic, and it kind of leads up to this like big climactic ending. And that's the last mission in Traffic, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's what lands you on Homicide.
Yeah. Which then, because I remember when I saw because I at least saw the layout of the departments of what went in like what order. And so when I saw like Homicide in the middle, I'm like, huh, you think you would build up to Homicide and then the rest of the story unfolds. But I think Homicide was probably the most interesting because that's the one that you were referencing with the Black Dahlia murders. I also think it was had like one of the most amount of missions.
Without having the DLC, yes.
Yeah, without the DLC.
Yeah, standard edition game, it had the most missions.
Although that's when I don't know, like really finding the clues in the murder. I think just being kind of, I hate to say true crime fan because it's a fan of terrible things that happen, but you know, we listen to the podcasts and whatnot and watch the show. So I think that was actually probably my favorite department.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's easily the best part of the game because they tried to tackle an unsolved murder case and go after a serial killer that's like never been unveiled. So it's really interesting, and they pulled in different pieces from other serial killers to kind of piece this guy together, which I thought was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a true crime fan. Like I have no qualms about saying it. Like that stuff is interesting. It's awful and it's very morbid, but like it's very interesting.
Yeah.
If you're interested in the human condition and how crazy and how fringe some of the different types of people can be, like true crime is a fucked up view of that.
Yeah. Yeah, quite so.
So you get to kind of take part in some true crime stuff, and I think that's actually really interesting. So yeah, you start noticing a trend through a couple of murders in Homicide, and then you're like, wait a minute. Before the final mission, they start kind of the Dahlia keeps like teasing you, sending in letters and things like that, kind of like BTK, and is like, oh hey, like you guys are never going to catch me, and here's a little clue. And
yeah, and then it starts coming out like with some of them where they want to be caught, but only by someone smart enough that, or at least they deem smart enough to be on their level and who's worthy of catching them. And
right,
kind of something like that. But I will say I was a little disappointed when I found out who it actually was. I'm like, really? That guy? The fucking temp barkeep? Who I think you see like either 2 or 3 times while you're in Homicide, which
like the first time you just see him, he's like delivering like liquor or whatever.
Yeah, and I think he's the only one who's kind of like reoccurring, and nothing ever like kind of clicked about it. It's like, oh, it's this guy again. Not, oh, they're showing this guy a lot. Hey, by the way, in the very end, apparently he's got some more fancy clothes and a shotgun.
The execution of that part was kind of like meh, but the actual like leading up to it and solving the clues and like finding the different landmarks to go to, I thought that was interesting. And I thought there was a really interesting narrative during that time where you have essentially in 1940s detective work solved all of these cases, and then this other person has evidence that makes it so that these other cases can't be the real murderer
Yeah.
in a bunch of these cases. But like, these are all people that you agreed to put away, and you're like, oh yeah, it's them. You know, like there's enough convincing evidence to put somebody away for murder, and it wasn't them. That's the crazy thing.
And your superior officer coming into, like, when you find the guy, it's like in the house that you go into, it's horrifying. There's like bathtubs filled with blood. There's like a workbench with like all these sawing and cutting instruments that are all covered in blood and everything around. And your superior officer is like, well, you won't be getting any commendations for this. No one's going to know this happened, and we're still going to put all those other people in jail because we need to do that to save face.
Yep.
And that's when you start seeing the other side of the police work, that Phelps is like, how can we do this? And that's where I think his morality stuff really starts kind of like kicking in there. And then you go to Vice, which is nothing but, hey, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Oh, we'll let the mobsters do their thing as long as they don't bother us too much, and we get our cut.
Yeah. That whole Vice was the fucking worst.
I hated Roy Earl.
That was your partner, right?
Yeah.
Roy is such a twat.
Now, there was just to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there's a scene in the middle of Homicide where I think you meet Roy at the club, and he like,
yeah, he's like, this is our case now,
and then he bitch slaps the German girl, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought that was him, but like, I totally forgot about that for a while, or who that was exactly.
Actually, I think that's at the very beginning of Vice, because you're with Earl. Yeah, and because he takes you to the club. He's like, oh, well, you'll be schmoozing with people. Let me introduce you to somebody. And then they go back, and then that's when she's having one of her fits, and the doctor shoots her up with the morphine, and then she lips off to Roy, and he just comes along and just
I don't think they were partners yet, though.
Oh.
That's what made me think, like, because I would have made that connection right away if I was in Vice, because you would have seen Roy a lot. I think it happened much earlier in the game.
You might be right, yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing him on the one on the case we were talking about before. I think it was where you find like the peeping rooms and shit like that.
Yeah, because the one producer, somebody,
and he's like, oh, that's one of my informants. Get the fuck out of here. You can't press charges on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where you see him be a fuckhead.
Yeah.
And then continue to be a fuckhead. And so here's my question to you, gentlemen, because we're about to get into Vice, and that's kind of where Cole Phelps' life goes to shit, because he's surrounded by all this corruption. And then, so here's the thing. He never denies it, because there's photographic evidence of him at the German girl's house. Do you think Phelps actually cheated on his wife?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely. They even had a scene where, like, they kind of, remember when they saw him making out in the alleyway or something like that? Why would he just do that for the sake of a cover? I don't know. It just seems odd. Okay. While we're on this segment, though, I just thought that whole thing was odd. That, like, why did they just, I don't know. It just seemed very out of place in this game.
Just that part of the story. The only thing that I could figure was, like, because in Vice, like, you're working with fucking, what was his name, Roy? You're working with him, and, like, he specifically requests you to be his partner, which I thought was kind of weird. And then, like, you learn that he's kind of a dirty cop. Not even really kind of. Like, the whole fucking Vice department is.
Yeah, it's dirty.
And then he's the one that pulls up all this dirty information on you about, like, cheating on your wife and adultery, and how you end up in arson, because basically you end up getting demoted. And it's like, why the fuck did he request you just to get back at you and backstab you? Like, he didn't have anything, like, need to do anything with you. Like, it didn't make any sense.
I have a theory on this. Roy worked really closely with the gangster Mickey.
Right.
And Phelps was like, we're going to bring the fucking hammer down on that guy. And so Roy Earl was like, well, I'm going to knock him off his high horse and make sure he can't get to Mickey anymore by having him go to arson, because that gets him out of that racket and world completely.
Oh, because there was I forget at what point there was a cutscene where the higher powers that be are having some sort of discussion, where some sort of heat's going to be coming their way, and Roy did that as a distraction away from it. He's like, what if your golden boy of a police officer has a falling from grace, or somewhere around that, and that's like shortly before like all of that actually comes to happen. Yeah, it was something like that, but it was something as with him coming up, there was something, to be gained by his fall, and I forget what exactly was happening, because it was part of like when you started getting into like the development deals and whatnot, like when you're in arson and having to do that research, that's when I think it starts coming out of why they targeted him.
My issue with this whole point in the game, though, so first of all, they don't really show his family. They mention it on the car rides a little bit, like you barely know he's married and has kids. One,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, and then two, they don't even show this like slow development of this new relationship. What the way they introduce all of this at once is, hey, he's an adulterer.
Yeah,
and
I totally.
they expect you to have some emotional investment in any of this, and I did not.
If there was supposed to be emotional investment to any of the characters in this, I missed it. It was not very character-driven game. There was no character development, which I think really hurt this game long run, because they didn't care about any of the fucking characters. And like, I honestly thought Kelso was so fucking douchey.
Yep.
That like, I was like, oh cool, so like this guy that's going to give you your big break to become like a fucking DA investigator, you're like hitting on his girlfriend. Like, you're a piece of shit too.
Yeah, but I'm totally with you, Harry. When they just kind of sprung that on you and then didn't really go into depth of why Phelps did it and like cheated and whatnot, I feel like that was just poor planning. It's like, all right, we need a twist. Here's a twist. All right, that's it. We're not going to tell you more about it. It's like, really?
And it just seems so out of character too.
Yeah, because the whole time he's like, oh, all around do-gooder, talks, all this good stuff, and then there's a German chick, and all of a sudden he's like way out of left field, and it's like, I'm just gonna go have a romp with her and have this on the side. It's like, huh? What?
Yeah, I didn't even really think about it until Harry said that. I'm pretty sure the first time you see Cole's family is that cutscene where he tries to go home after being caught.
Yeah, and his wife
absolutely.
is kicking him out. Yeah.
Yeah, and his wife's
He's
kicking him
throwing all
out.
the shit on the floor.
I'm pretty sure that was the first time I realized he was married.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there's the wife. Oh, there's a suitcase on the front lawn. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the last we'll see of them.
Well, that's that.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Putting that out there.
I guess that's all that's really left to talk about in the story is Phelps' last-ditch effort to be a hero or do something good.
Well, yeah, so I kind of briefly touched on it. Was Roy set him up to be fired, basically, or demoted, and he had to move to arson.
Right.
Or he finds out some other shady things going on.
Honestly, arson was my favorite segment of the game.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I know you guys were really praising the homicide, but I felt those missions felt more copy and paste than any other section in the game. I would agree.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of my issue with homicide. It was show up, look at the dead naked chick with the huge bush, find clues at somebody's house, and then catch.
You got a raging clue.
Yeah.
Oh my god, such a solid clue.
Harry played this game just stiff as a board the entire time.
Just like the dead body.
Ew.
Christ.
But no, arson, each mission felt very distinct there. And I liked his partner the most in arson.
Yeah, that's
did
the
like
best
him
partner,
the most, too.
Rusty.
When
Rusty
you
was the
mentioned
best.
there was
Yeah.
no character development, Rusty was the only one that I saw actually have character development in this game. Because
Yeah.
at the beginning of ours, which I mean is ridiculous because it's like 4 missions or 5 missions or whatever. Like he starts off and he's like, I don't want a fucking partner. I don't have partners. Like I hate talking to people. And then like by the end, like he starts to grow and he's like he opens up more and he's like he's just different. Like
Yeah.
that's the only character that actually had change.
It's like all this shady shit. Fuck these guys. Let's go get them anyway. This better be worth my pension. That's what he said all the time. He's like, yeah, for guys with pensions. I'm like, enough with the pension. I get it. You put in your time, but damn it.
Well, another big thing for him too is like he will never let Cole forget that he cheated on his wife.
No.
He's like,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like even when he's about to have his like heroic moment, he's like, man, he might be a cheating son of a bitch, or he might be an adulterating son of a bitch, but he's a damn good cop.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, Rusty, like
He didn't
You
bullshit you. He
you
was
can't like
straightforward.
cut the guy any sort of slack.
No.
I might not agree with the German broad that you're sleeping with, but you're a damn fine cop.
Just to give you a little imagery about this banter back and forth between them.
Giant bush.
Yeah.
There's some imagery.
I think it's important to note that Cole quite often makes the Jim face from The Office.
Where he looks straight at the camera.
It doesn't look straight at the camera, but it does the lip thing.
Where
It's like
it's just like just a straight line going across his mouth.
exactly.
We're just going. It reminds me of like that cat meme where it's like unimpressed cat meme and it's just the straight line.
Yeah, let's just talk about. So essentially, the overarching story here at the end of the game is that Cole and Rusty essentially figure out that this development group that's like a bunch of high-powered people in Hollywood are all trying to fuck a bunch of GIs out of their money and their government grants for housing by building them with cheap supplies, burning them down. There's like a bunch of different little things going on. There's a bunch of different like agents. There's some giant ex-Marine that's like running around killing people and doing cleanup for this group, who is like completely mentally deficient. He is like completely fucked on PTSD. Like he is gone by the end of the game. And so at one point he ends up kidnapping Cole's girlfriend, the German girl. I forget her name.
Elsa Lichtman.
Elsa Lichtman.
Yeah, she did.
Couple of them. Gaga.
Gaga. So yeah, that guy ends up kidnapping Elsa, takes her into the sewers, and that's kind of where Cole and Jack Kelso, who was his old ex-Marine buddy, well, actually they hated each other, decide to like go on like one last stand. Jack Kelso's trying to become a DA inspector and clean up the force, and Cole Phelps is trying to do something for the history books, essentially. And so Cole ends up sacrificing himself to save Jack Kelso and Elsa, and ends up getting washed away in a sewer drain and drowning.
Yep.
And that's the end of that.
What an ending.
Chapter.
So here's the
What a fucking ending.
yeah. Not only was the ending terrible, but I have a question about the ending that I did not understand.
Why was it so terrible?
Why are we about to talk about the Marine boat scene?
No.
No,
I
not
was-
yet. Not yet.
All right, go
I
ahead.
was
Joe.
We need
Roy.
to get there.
Why was Roy giving the eulogy?
Because he's a fake ass piece of shit, and that's why every single one of them on the force who wanted Cole gone or out of their hair were there saying, "What a great cop."
Yeah, like how like really, really slimy, greasy people sometimes fucking get away with it in the end. He's one of them.
Yeah,
That shit just blew my mind.
yeah. They put it up there. I'm like, wait, what? It's like,
Yeah.
really? It's like, get the fuck out of here.
I was like, this guy out of everyone?
yeah.
Fuck him.
Of course. Well, nobody else knew that Roy fucking put him under, but he was just going to be there to be like, great cop. What a guy. See? Look at my face. Get the fuck out of here, piece of
They
shit.
really make you just hate Cole at the end of the game too. Like, Okay, so throughout the game, they're kind of going through like Cole wants to be an officer really bad in the Marines, and then he finally gets to be an officer, and then they start seeing active duty, and then he pretty much tells his entire platoon to run into a fucking cave, and then they burn a bunch of women and children alive, and then he orders everyone in the group to silence them, and then Kelso not Kelso, who shoots him in the back?
Oh, Courtney?
Yeah, Courtney ends up shooting him in the back, and then Kelso kind of covers it up, and that's how that ends. He gets
Which makes no sense.
Yeah, Phelps gets sent home early from being shot, and Kelso and everyone come home on a fucking boat with all the fucking morphine.
Not to mention Cole also gets his medal. What is it? What do you get? The Silver Star or something?
Yeah, he got the Silver Star of Bravery. And so it leads us to this fucking boat scene, which, if the ending wasn't bad enough, this boat scene is even worse.
Oh, side note, before you describe it all, I read a bunch of comments of people complaining about this scene, too. And I wanted to kind of share the general internet thoughts.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
I'll let you, describe it, and I'll follow up then.
So they're all there on the boat, and they're coming home, and they're like, oh, man, like, what are you going to do with your money? Oh, what are you going to do with your money? What are you going to do? Blah, 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 blah. And they were like, well, we're sitting on a bunch of fucking morphine and a bunch of fucking guns. Why don't we just take them off the ship and sell them on the fucking streets and be like a big ex-military gang? And like, Jack Kelso is the only one that's like, no, we're not doing that. But also, fuck Cole Phelps. He just gets one last thing. It's like, why? Why does this fucking none of that matters? I'm sorry, none of the Marine stuff has any sort of real payoff to me, other than making Cole look like a piece of shit even more. And Kelso's the only one that says, hey, I'm not going to do this. But are you supposed to like Kelso? He's an asshole.
He's a dick, too.
He's such a dickhead.
There is a field of dicks in this game.
So, don't worry, princess, I'm coming back for you. Like, shut up.
To be fair,
it should have been you in the fucking sewer.
He called every female princess, pretty much.
He's the worst.
He is. He's really not great.
I hate him more than Phelps.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I think the reasoning, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but the reasoning they put that scene in there is to kind of show the morality of Jack Kelso, because the developers thought that he needed a redemption scene to kind of clarify any misdoings he did before. But a lot of people are like, we never got that impression that he's a bad guy before.
Yeah,
this was a very unnecessary scene.
One of the things that you actually got from him was when he was trying to get Courtney out of like his mob dealings, and he's like, this is done now. When they were like meeting in the alleyway with the mobsters, and it was him and Courtney versus the mobsters, and he's like, I'm trying to get this guy out, so we're done. You have money, you have this, you can have this part of the morphine, whatever it is, and we're done. So already I'm like, oh, Jack Kelso doesn't seem so bad, princess. And then we get into Jack Kelso. I'm like, oh, all right, yeah, he's pretty douchey. And then he's kind of nosy for an insurance investigator. Let me just. What are you here from? Life and Fire Insurance, sir. Let me see those documents. Like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Oh, watch out! The insurance man is coming.
All right, couple things in general. Did you guys have any more thoughts about the boat scene?
What's the internet have to say, Harry?
Oh, no. I kind of shared the general wrap up of that, but I mean, people in so many internet ways, you know. If you want to,
we're just looking at it, going like, "Why?"
No. Explain it to us, Grandpa. Go for it. Well, the internet back in 1984.
I invented the internet. Shut up, Al. Nobody cares anymore.
Could we just mention that, like, the LA police have no respect for search and seizure laws?
Oh no,
none.
I mean.
Hey, you sit down there. We're going to take a look around.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like 1947, so I'm pretty sure that was like right on point. It's like, you don't have rights. We're looking around.
Most people were just happy not to get shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're that-
I love how not one person was like, you know what, Cole, I'm not going to answer your questions. I want to see my lawyer. That never happened.
Well, no, because that was usually met with a good old knuckle sandwich. You had Herschel there just waiting to clock someone real quick.
The stupidity.
I mean, that is when you get beat up. They're just like, unless you're a fucking like what, the Ecuadorian ambassador or something from the consul's car.
Yeah.
He's the only one that's like, I want to talk to my lawyer. And they're just like, we're not going to hit you.
Okay.
All right, we're not going to hit you. Get your lawyer.
You actually have some pull somewhere, so we'll leave you alone. But that guy, I'm going to go hit him instead. I don't know. It's like there's parts of the story where I'm like, oh, this is great. Check this out. And then I felt let down. It's like, this is not great.
I think an important lesson to learn from this game: if you have size 8 feet, you are a criminal.
Yeah,
yeah, 100%, 100%. Size 8 feet, you're a fucking A, weirdo, B, criminal.
Yeah, this game proved it. So, sorry if you're listening and that's your shoe size, but we need to keep a closer eye on you now.
Yeah, you're on our list of crime suspects.
Yeah,
if a naked lady with a giant bush shows up with strangle marks,
We're coming for you.
Yeah,
we're coming for you. You're on top of the list.
You thought that questionnaire was just for fun? No, we needed information.
I love some of that questioning around that.
It was like 3 missions in a row with that 8 size shoe thing. I was like, are you fucking kidding me with this? What is happening?
Yeah, no, you're right. There were 3 missions with it. I was like, this is ridiculous. Just change the size. Just change it up a little bit. If we're gonna keep going back to these shoe size. And I love how when you're doing like the questioning, and you're like, "Ooh, what, Mr. Rogers? What size shoe do you wear?" He's like, "Oh, I think I wear a 10." And Cole's like, "That's a lie. I just checked your bedroom." And the guy's like, "Fuck!"
Why would you instinctually lie about that?
Yeah, like he's just gonna measure your foot. Worst case scenario.
It's like, well, you know what they say, small shoes, so I just say it's a little bigger.
I don't know. Just some of the questions you had to call people out on.
Ugh. Not that you probably realized when you were playing, but do you feel like you gained anything out of the DLC as far as story went?
Did you guys play the DLC missions at all?
No.
I played every single one of them.
Yeah, I did not.
Oh, okay. So, the only thing I got out of these is, Clark, you remember the mission that it looked like a nuclear bomb went off and it was the factory had an explosion in the town?
Yeah.
So this isn't even story related of a gain, but I went and I couldn't find a car to get to the next place, so I took one of the fire engines, and you're with Rusty at that point in the game. And what I gained is the hilarity of his comments, because he was like, "Jesus Christ, Cole, are you fucking kidding me?" Like, it's like
about taking a fire engine?
Yeah.
Oh, he says that anyway if you take a fire engine somewhere, because I did that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried to always grab like the weird vehicles and shit.
Same. Or if I saw something that was just like, wow, that thing is just incredibly cool looking, I'm like, I'm going to go steal that. I would stop in the middle of the street and they'd be like, "Cole, are you coming back here?" And I'm like, "No, I'm going to go grab this fucking car."
This is mine now.
Get out of the car. All right, guys, let's get into some gameplay. Let's what's a good one?
Press X for doubt.
Let's turn over this potato and check for gameplay.
This is a potato of a game too, so it works.
Gameplay.
Yeah, so some of the shit you can pick up, it's like, yeah.
How many bottles of like just that generic booze did you pick up?
27, at least.
You mean the beer alcohol that was never, you couldn't tell if it was beer or alcohol?
Yeah. all it was what do you say? All the fucking time you picked up. Circumstantial or something.
Yeah.
So there was so much stuff that you can pick up where he's just like, "Oh, this isn't good." And there'd be like 5 items in a little cluster. And you're like, "Oh, maybe I'm going to find the secret clue." There's never a secret fucking clue. There's never an extra thing for this. But essentially that's the game. You're walking around crime scenes, investigating clues, writing down in your notebook, and then you just go interrogate people, or you shoot them sometimes. That's it.
You can shoot them sometimes.
You can shoot them sometimes. There's shootouts. There's did anyone have any favorite weapons? I would always try to find the bar.
You know how many times I forgot how to shoot?
Oh, I'm with you. It's like I didn't use it for so long, and then I'm like, how the fuck do I do this? That or
You'd go like 6 missions without using your gun.
For me, it was always snapping to cover. I'm like, how do I do this? Oh my god, I'm getting lit the fuck up.
If I wasn't picking up a clue, I forgot how to do it. Like all the time. I was like, how do I get behind cover? Like, how do I fucking shoot?
even just the melee. Like I think
it was boxing was the worst.
It was it was like several days in between playing, and that even longer in just actual fighting. And then you break into like the one apartment where I think it was during traffic, like when you go into the
there's the two guys.
Yeah, and I'm just in there, and I'm just like I'm clicking the buttons because I kind of remember I forgot that you had a lock on first, so I'm just pressing the buttons. I'm just getting my ass kicked. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like shit, I got
the first time I died.
Yeah, same.
It was that fucking mission because I couldn't remember how to fucking box. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
It's like a Jackie Chan movie where he just instead of like kicking ass, just gets fucking annihilated. Like he pulls his fucking, you accidentally like pull your notebook out and you just get fucking creamed. You're like, oh, what's the just.
Though I did appreciate there was always an option, at least if it went right in after the fight, you could go and pick up your hat. I made it a point to always go and pick up my fucking hat.
You have to. You have to Indiana Jones that shit.
I'm a professional, damn it.
Oh God.
Yeah, so yeah, the fighting I remembered because I actually kind of enjoy that kind of like back and forth. That's a lot like GTA. GTA fights are the kind of the same way. Where it's like, oh, you know, you have the grapple, you have the punch or kick, depending on which direction you're doing. Except for there's no kick. And there's you can do like a flying knee, which is so funny to me because he's just like, oh, like I'm gonna do like my standard like 1940s boxer punches, and here's a Muay Thai fucking just running knee to the face.
Tiger,
tiger,
tiger, uppercut.
Morphine, sleep. But like, yeah, it's I don't think any function of this game other than the interrogations goes smoothly.
No, interrogations are bullshit. I specifically have that in my notes too.
Interrogations are bullshit?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think they're
not the interrogations themselves, right? But did you check the intuition? Did you actually use it?
I never
sometimes.
I never used it actually.
It was fucking stupid.
Yeah?
It was basically who wants to be a millionaire?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, you could like 50-50 or ask the community.
50-50 to eliminate, half the choices, right? And then basically phone a friend, which would basically show you what everybody else that had already played that game had chosen previously.
Oh god.
Which is always the one to use, by the way.
It was not.
What?
Yeah,
I never ran into that being...
where I did not. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm never using this again.
I never had that experience, but I
had one where it was like 40-30-30, like split between the three things.
Oh, that's crazy. I never had anything like that.
What the fuck am I supposed to do? I was like, this is useless.
I might have had evidence to like prove that it was a lie at that instance, because anytime I used the intuition, I would always do the ask the community thing, and it would always be like 95-5. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was fucking dumb. And there was some like during the intuition, and it's kind of like a graphics thing, but like the facial expressions, I felt like almost always, no matter what people said, their eyes would start to dart around. And I'm like, if you're going to have your eyes dart around, whether you're telling the truth, you're lying, or I'm supposed to doubt you, like, I have to try and use the rest of your face, which is almost impossible.
I mean, some of them you had to sit and watch for like 5 to like 8 seconds because initially they might not do anything. So there was a couple where you just had to sit and wait, wait a little longer. Oh, they just kind of rolled their eyes or like looked up and to the left or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think there was only like one person who had like solid expression through the whole thing, and like to catch them in a lie or doubt, like it was so subtle. Like if you looked away for a split second, you miss it.
Did you ever look over your notebook at somebody long enough where they're just like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I like did that and went and got a drink at one point and came back and they were like talking. I was like, what the fuck?
Did I miss something?
Yeah. I thought I was paused.
Whoops.
So does anyone have anything else for gameplay?
The driving sucked between the different cars.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like the amount of times like going like from like if you just take the detective vehicles, they all drive differently.
They're terrible.
So when you go from like homicide, which wasn't too bad, you know, you drove it for quite a while, and then you get into Roy's fucking Cadillac or something, and it drives like a
boat.
Yeah, exactly. Literally the words I was going to use. It drives like a fucking boat. It's terrible.
I use the auto drive 100%.
Oh,
I did not know that was a thing until the last mission.
oh no.
Oh my god, Joe. Oh,
I drove
no.
fucking everywhere. And I was so pissed because I didn't even notice there was a fucking prompt. Like the first time I ever saw the prompt was literally the last mission. It was like, hold Y to skip. And I was like, I literally have it in my notes. It literally says, hold Y to skip the destination. Wasn't shown until I got out of the hospital at the end of the game. Was this available the whole time?
Yeah, it was available since the very beginning.
I was so fucking pissed. I was like, I could have saved like 10 hours.
Yeah.
I drove everywhere I had a choice, so I don't know why.
God.
Yeah, I don't know why.
The only cars worth a damn were if you went to the hidden vehicle locations and took those. But it was shitty because sometimes if you did that, depending on what you did next and what the cutscene was, it would get rid of that car and give you your regular detective car.
Oh.
Anyway. So it would piss me off anyway. So sometimes I did it and sometimes I didn't because I was just like, this is a fucking waste of time.
Yeah, I didn't go for one hidden vehicle. I saw them
They
all
were
on the
pretty
map.
sweet.
Yeah.
I didn't go in after any either because, I let auto drive do all of the work.
Did it skip the thing, or was it like watching a stagecoach in Red Dead, or like?
No, it would skip. It would just skip.
Well, it would play any relevant in-car dialogue and then skip to the destination.
Oh,
Yep.
that's amazing.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, it was the shit. Because I wanted to spend the least amount of time with this game as possible. So,
Dude, same. And my playthrough might have been 36 hours.
yeah,
Because of all the fucking DLC. I wish I knew about the DLC before I bought the game. Because I wouldn't have bought the fucking extended edition or whatever. I was like, oh, if I like it, I'll play through the DLC. Nope, played through all of it.
Yeah,
It doesn't get any better. The only one that I thought was even remotely interesting was the Nicholson electroplating. The arson extra mission where everyone thinks a nuke went off. I thought that was actually an interesting mission because there's like microfiche and like fucking sabotage and there's a spy and shit like that. Like that was okay, but
That sounds neat.
yeah, it was pretty cool. But like everything else, like fuck it, yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't like was I don't know how it was for you guys, but the lighting, like when you shifted like maybe from outside to inside, like it stayed darker for a while until you got under a light inside. And then I don't know, stuff was just like pretty dark on my end for a little bit, and then I went in and actually changed the TV settings a little bit more to brighten it up. But for a couple things, like I couldn't see shit. Like when you're chasing the Black Dahlia murderer, like through the little catacombs and whatnot, I don't know where I was like half the fucking time. That took me so goddamn long. So long to find that bitch. Guys, that might have just been me then.
yeah, I didn't have that problem.
Oh, okay then.
What did you play on, Harry?
PlayStation 4.
Okay.
What'd you play on, Joe?
PC.
Oh, okay. Clark?
PC.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I was found it for the PS3, so I played it on that one. So that might have been it.
Can we talk about the chases while we're in gameplay? On foot and in car. We're
Yeah.
both awful.
The on-foot chases were a waste of time.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
absolutely sucked.
If you shot them, you failed the mission. And then eventually, like, if you just ran long enough, you always caught them.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't like they weren't difficult. Like, I think the only time I failed in on-foot chase was because I wanted to see if I could shoot them and slow them down.
You know what I actually like, the chases were just annoying. They weren't terrible. What I thought was actually awful was trying to fucking follow people. That sucked.
That was hard.
Oh, like that one chick that had the money for the fighter or whatever?
Oh my god. I failed that 3 times and it was like, hey, do you want to skip this? And I was like, fuck yeah, I do. Can I get this? Can I just get this as an option before this fucking types of missions happen?
I thought that was actually kind of a neat feature.
Really? I hated it.
I mean,
thought it
not
was
the following
stupid.
things, but the fact that they were like, hey, we see you're having trouble. Do you want to just skip it?
They should have started every case with that option.
Between auto driving and that, Harry would have never even played the game.
Yeah. You could have
Watch
just
a
watched a
movie.
YouTube video, man. Whole thing, just LA Noire, the 35-hour movie.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, I did absolutely no street crimes at all. Like when they radioed that in, I'm like,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
No.
I'm busy.
No.
I was pissed because that one mission comes through the same way as a regular street crime when you're in homicide, and I was like, I didn't even hit the fucking button, and it's gonna make me do a goddamn street crime now. I don't have time for this.
And then you're like, oh, that was actually
Yeah,
part of
like
it.
when you that's like when you go to the school to see the guy watching the kids play fucking ball or whatever.
Yeah, pedo man.
Yeah, but yeah, no street crimes
Nope.
at all.
None. I spent no extra time with this game. I put in my extra fucking 6 hours with the DLC. I'm good.
Yeah, because I'm looking here. There were 12 in traffic, 13 in homicide, 10 in vice, and 5 in arson. So that's 25, 35,
40.
40 fucking street crime. No, thank you. That's a lot.
Yeah, and like as far as the gameplay goes, like the controls and stuff like that, like it felt like very like I was like, oh, this is clearly like same engine as Grand Theft Auto like 4 or whatever. But I was like, I don't like it's obviously I haven't played Grand Theft Auto 4 in like forever. But I was like, I feel like it doesn't even feel as good.
Yeah,
Like
it
the
felt
only
clunky.
Yeah, it's oh my god, it felt so clunky. The only part that I felt was nice, and I think they only did it because of how clunky the game was when you were running downstairs and the stairwell like had a U-turn in it or whatever. You didn't have to change your joystick direction or pan your camera. He just automatically made the turn and kept going down.
Yeah, that was actually nice.
I was like, oh, thank God, because the camera sucks. I don't want to have to deal with this.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys did me a solid.
It's like, all right, we'll give you one.
I had one issue gameplay wise. That was like poor planning on their part designing the game. Do you remember the mission where you show up? I think it's towards the end. It might be with Rusty at the end, where you show up in front of like this post office or something, and there's this big shootout between the cops on the street and the guys in the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get out of the car. Yeah. And you get out of the car and you run for cover behind the first parked police car. So if you stay there long enough, the backup police that show up on the scene, they drive right through that car and they'll run you over and kill you.
Oh,
and
God.
they killed me 3 times. And it shows
Jesus,
like this.
really?
Yeah, 3 times. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stand out in the open this time. I'm not even going to take to this car for cover.
Fuck your couch.
That's awesome.
Like he just plows into the other car too. Just that stupid AI NPC figure just sitting behind the wheel, just looking forward, just plowing through it.
What the fuck are you looking at?
Get out of the way.
I mean, I know the first time that happened, I was just like, wow. Just who planned this one?
Yeah, right. That was a scripted action.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing that I had troubles with in gameplay was when you were actually inspecting the clues. Sometimes where you had to like rotate your joystick around to inspect like alternate sides of things, it wouldn't quite go right, and I would have to like try and get it to go a few times before it actually like looked at the bottom of the cup or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, before it lined up, like it starts zooming in and you think you have it, then it zooms out again. Then you
Yeah.
change your joystick and it starts zooming in, and they're like, all right, then it zooms out again. It's like, fuck, come on, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's just his Parkinson's kicking up.
Detective
Jesus.
Michael J. Fox.
Oh my god.
We're gonna shake up this town.
Oh boy.
That's terrible.
Oh boy. You said it.
What? Yeah, I did.
All right, let's shake our way into graphics. No, like the dance, the shake. Come on, guys. Come on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Come on.
Graphics.
I personally think for the time that this came out, the game looks pretty good. I think the facial animations are pretty good. Like the mechanics of them are wonky, but I think the actual animations themselves look pretty good. The city is about as drab as you would think, a 1940s town would be. Even if it is LA, I kind of got like the glitz and glamour of Hollywood in some spots. And some of the places were pretty interesting, but overall, I it's not as pretty as like GTA 4 or 5 or Red Dead. Like I think it's of that generation's games. I don't think it's up there.
No, and I would agree with you there for like the environment and surroundings and whatnot. But I think, in my opinion, they make up for that with like the faces, like, because you kind of have to. But I think that's pretty much where all of your detail was put in for when you're like doing the interviews and questioning and whatnot. That's where it shines. Obviously for good reason, because that's what the whole game is based around. But yeah, other than that, nothing really like stood out. I mean, to bring up again like the old movie studio, the giant movie set you're running through, some of like the size of these things and that part of environment, that was pretty neat. And then you have these big pillars of like the lions or dragons or whatever it was. So some of those were kind of stood out to me. But yeah, if you're driving around, everything just kind of blurs together. There's nothing really that kind of makes it like pop.
Graphically, so I agree with all the things you guys said. I do want to. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the women's hair in this game, it looked different than everything else in the game, and it almost looked like GoldenEye hair, if that makes any sense.
It's been too long for me to remember.
It looks flat.
Yeah, flat, like it almost looks like I don't know, they took like this old clip art and just put it on their heads.
Yeah.
It just did not match everything else because it looked like it had no texture. Like it looked like a little painting on top of these women's heads.
It's like a little broom. Oh my God, use a broom?
It's really hard to describe, but find some pictures online or something and take a look. It just did not, like, I think they did a good job for the time with the faces and everything. Just like a lot of the emotion, even if it was a little dramatic on some of these people's faces, it did look pretty decent. But the hair, specifically on women, just looked very odd.
So I have a similar comment about the women. I kind of want to hit a different thing first there real quick. We had to lead into it. The city looked bland and all that. I 100% agree with you guys. But what really jarred me was actually, along with the facial capture looked really good. But the problem was it was almost too good in comparison to the rest of the model and like their head. And I felt like it like wasn't blended at all, really. Like you could almost see where the edge of the motion capture was kind of pasted on. and it was kind of jarring because it didn't look right at all. The note about the women though is it felt like they only used one woman's facial captures for all the women in the game. Like they all had like the same size face. It was very similar, and if you cropped out the face for all the women that you actually interrogated in the game, like alone without the body, like it would probably be all the same. Like it was very weird to me.
Joe collects faces. He's got a whole folder full of them now.
Shh. But it was very weird. And like I said, with the cropping of the face onto the body, like the face movements were like smooth and they looked around. But in some scenes, you could see the face moving and the body move as well. And the body would be very like jittery and not as smooth as the face would appear to be.
Gotcha.
And it was very disconnecting. Like it was like, you guys probably should have spent some time if you were going to do this to kind of smooth it out or make it work a little better together.
Yeah, just bump that up just a little bit down there, will you?
Or just make the facial animation like slightly less good. Like
See,
I think it would have worked anyway.
I don't know. It's like some of the little nuances. I don't think you could really take away from the facial recognition that they did. I think they would have to bring everything else up to that.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know. It was just like a weird blending issue. I felt like between the facial capture and the just the rendered model of the body. It was very weird. But other than that, like nothing to write home about. Very similar to a lot of other games, especially Rockstar games of that era.
Do we want to move into audio or sound?
Audio.
The category I'm going to crap on the most.
All right, let's get ready for Harry's Poop Fest.
All right, Harry, let's hear it. Like, what do you got?
All right, number one.
Is that the guy from the papers? Is that the guy from the papers?
Is that the guy from the papers?
I think I know that guy.
God damn!
Holy shit! Is that the guy from the papers?
Okay, the first thing.
Is it?
So aggressive.
The first thing that really drove me nuts with this game, the audio sounded like it was down a hallway. Now I played with a headset the whole time because I was playing late at night. But it just felt like somebody was like reading their lines through like a paper towel tube or something like it. I don't know. It just sounded a little tinny and a little down a hallway is the best way to describe it. I don't know if you
like
guys...
this, Harry? You think it was kind of like this, where they were reading their lines like this?
Yeah, kind of. I'm not going to lie. That maybe not as dramatic, but it didn't. But
You're that Clark,
I'm going to be a star, Harry.
I'm going to be up on the silver screen. Hey, look, Clark, let me hook you up with this producer I know. Wear something sexy.
Or nothing at all.
Oh, that's the point. I don't think I really got the same audio issue that you did. Now, I didn't play through headphones. I just had it coming out of my TV speakers, but I didn't really get like the tinniness.
There were some obvious spots that were like that, but I think that was intentional. Like you know, the car radio.
oh yeah, no, that's fine.
There were
That's
some
fine.
spots where it made sense, but I think I know what you're talking about too, where it just seemed like some regular dialogue was like that too, and I was like, what?
It just, I don't know. It drove me nuts the entire time, and I couldn't not like recognize that. Like every time I was just like, oh no, I'll just get used to this. And every time I boot up the game, I'm like, oh, this fucking audio again. It just annoyed me so much.
Interesting.
Now this okay. Whenever you're doing the interrogations in the police station, the amount of loud footsteps you'd hear out in the hallway. Did you guys experience that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of exaggerated stuff in the police station.
But
Like, who's doing this? You know I'm trying to work here, right?
I just like felt like half of the department's police force were like pulling their shoes off of their feet and just slamming them on the door while you're trying to interrogate.
Oh, you didn't see that Easter egg in the background? Yeah, good old Rusty. He's just like banging on the side of the window for you.
Yeah.
There's a couple little things I guess really really kind of
But
picked at you there.
Yeah, the same car horns out on the road, which were just very constant. Or like this. Oh, the squealing tire. Do you guys remember that? Where like you're
Yeah.
walking around town and you just hear this car peeling the fuck out.
It's
Yeah.
like, who is that?
It's like, how come my cars don't drive like that?
But it would happen like every minute and a half when you're out on the road, and like it just, I don't know.
God.
I just couldn't get over the repeated dialogue the whole time. It was driving me nuts.
Yeah, like anytime you're walking out of the police station or just by anybody, there's the like NPC, like just background people, the exact same like 10 phrases
Yeah.
through the 60 hours of gameplay on this thing.
Not even just a police station, any bar you went into.
Yeah.
Like any public location that had other people that were just like NPCs of no real importance would
Hey,
always.
isn't that detective? It's
Yeah,
like, really?
right.
I mean, I guess if you're in the papers, that's like the only way people are able to see you, but
I think I'm
still.
going to upgrade to a 45. Just take them down in one shot.
That was my quit, man. That's why I said it.
Yeah,
It was
I know,
so
yeah.
many fucking times. I was like, really? You just want to take them out in one shot? Like, I mean, yeah, sure, I guess. If you have to shoot somebody, that'd be ideal, I suppose. But damn.
There's a couple of them where it was almost like they were making jokes, and it's just, what's a joke for back then? It's like an Irishman, an Englishman, and a Welsh or something walks in the bar, and the bartender says, "What is this? Some kind of joke?" And then that was the joke itself, and I'm like, "All right."
I did not hear that.
And then everyone goes, yikes.
Okay, and well, I guess while I'm continuing my rant, I
Yeah.
didn't like how it had this like cutaway music when you started the interrogation. Like, I think I don't think that needed its own music track. It should have just been blended with whatever ambient background noise was going on. I don't know. It just felt like, I don't know. It was like turning into a game show. I hated the sound direction and the sound effects and the music. I hated the entire fucking category in this game.
I agree. I don't think the audio is anything great. I think some, like, and when I say some, I say maybe like 10% of all of the voice acting was like really good, but everything else was just like, eh.
I don't know. I did like the voice acting in this. I think they did a good job on it. I mean, it's not over the top, but I'd still say pretty good. I didn't mind the music either. I mean, it fit for the time. It did kind of get annoying every single time, though, when it's like the dun 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 dun. It's like you hear that same when you're like looking around for clues. I mean, yes, in the
clue
very
music.
in the
Yeah.
very beginning, you're like, oh, okay. I mean, I can get where they want it to be like a mystery. It's like
Yeah,
we're investigating murder.
They give you an idea when you're like in the vicinity of a clue or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, but the little like trombone shrill thing they have, I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm good now. But I don't know. I don't think I disliked it as much as you, Harry, and to an extent you, Clark.
I just didn't think it was great. I would have expected more out of Rockstar, honestly, because of how well voice acted all their other games are. Honestly, I think this is a big letdown in terms of their voice acting. Like, dude, if you've played like Red Dead 2 at all,
Oh yeah,
the voice acting in that is fucking like some of the best in any game. I know it's a few years later, but still, like,
Right.
it's just and the worst part about it is actually they had all of the actors in this. They had a ton of actors, like people that do this stuff for a living. And it just seems like maybe the person directing them wasn't giving them enough clues as to, oh, like, you did it, you did it, but like, don't let them know that you did it. Like, it's too, like, especially when you're looking for visual and like audio clues when you're interrogating somebody. None of the audio cues, I think, stuck out to me ever, when someone was lying or anything like that.
So, speaking of lying, I want to circle back to something real quick that I forgot to bring up in gameplay.
circle on back.
So on PC and PS3, when you were interrogating somebody, it was truth, doubt, and lie.
Correct.
I saw a note on PS4 that it was not that.
It wasn't.
Oh, what was it?
Good cop, bad cop.
And accuse.
Yes, and accuse, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
What?
Do you know why? Do you know? I think I know why they changed that.
I saw it in the note, which is why I brought it up. It says to more accurately reflect Phelps's behavior when a player selects each choice.
That makes a lot more sense, honestly, with how they because it's like one of those things you're like, oh, like you think it's the truth, and then he's like, yeah, well, I don't really believe you. You got to give me more than that. Like it's like, okay, well, like that's not really you believing them. Like,
Yeah. I didn't understand that either, and I feel like if I would have played with those options as good cop, bad cop, and accused, I would have played completely differently, and it probably would have made maybe more sense.
right.
And I could definitely see that. I mean, when you have doubt, he gets so angry at the people. I'm like, wow, that's a little aggressive for saying, "Hey, I don't believe you."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
It
like
was
a
very
come on.
confusing.
I know you. I know you're full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Try to
God
play-
damn it! You want me to fucking get a fucking paddy wagon over here and jack you up in the background? Like no, dude, just chill out.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be doubting them. You're not like, I'm gonna fucking murder you. I'm gonna take my pistol out and shoot you in the fucking face. You better give me something.
Speaking of that, just saying the scene where he points his gun at Roy and tells him he'll blow his fucking head off was that was satisfying.
One of the
I
few
know
parts in the game.
I know we're way past that, but just with that one, when you said that, it's like, oh, that was fun to see. That felt good. Fuck Roy. But no, I could see where having those options instead of like truth, doubt, lie,
It would fit his responses so much more.
Yeah, it would.
I wonder why they didn't update it for Windows. Seems like an easy patch.
That's so puzzling to me as well. Like it, yeah.
Like the definitive edition didn't even come out until 2017.
Dude, we had to fucking do extra shit to play the game on PC.
I played it on PC and I didn't get the extra missions. I didn't get the definitive edition.
Do you remember how we had to like fuck with the game to get it to work properly?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So like it's not optimized for PC. I also want to throw that out there.
Yeah,
I had to
don't
run
get it for
Steam.
PC.
Yeah, don't get it for PC. I had to run my Steam as administrator, which was something I found out after fucking with it for about an hour.
Oh God.
Yeah, even then sometimes it would be janky.
Yeah, it was super janky. It didn't like my graphics card that could easily fucking play double the graphic capacity of this game. Like it was just it was really annoying of how not optimized for PC this was. And let me tell you how fucking janky Rockstar Social Club is in this fucking game, because every time I fucking logged in, I had to log into fucking Rockstar. Every fucking time I booted the game up.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times the game fucking crashed on me and then I had to fucking log in and it'd take me 25 minutes to get into the fucking game? Like, that shit is unacceptable. Stop selling the game if it's in this state. Stop.
Yeah, that was infuriating. I know it's not really sound, but yeah, that was infuriating because that was the problem, is that you had to run the game and Steam as administrator mode to get it to not crash and actually open, but doing so caused you to force log in every time you launched it, which was fucking annoying.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah. It was so dumb.
And you couldn't play without it. And the only reason you couldn't play without Social Club was because of the intuition part of the game. Was because you had to use the Social Club for intuitions to do the whole "who wants to be a millionaire" fucking bullshit. We should move into final thoughts.
Yeah, let's move into final thoughts. Let's get there.
Final thoughts.
Joe, do you want to start off with final thoughts? You were on a roll. You want to just continue it?
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the things, like the first day I launched, I think I was probably the first one that launched the game since once we decided to play this game. And like, I spent like 3 fucking hours fucking with the game to try and get it to work on Windows. And I was just like, we might need to pick a different game, guys, because this isn't working.
Oh God.
Like, it was that bad. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then once I got it working, like, the Social Club thing fucking was ruining it for me because like I couldn't remember my password because all my other fucking Rockstar games like it just saves. And this game has an auto login feature that didn't work because you had to run it in administrator mode. Oh, so frustrating. But I mean, the rest of my final thoughts about the actual game is, I mean, it's an interesting game. I love the concept of it. I love the timeline of it. I just thought it was like the execution was very mediocre. It's kind of how I feel about it.
Alrighty. Steve?
A little bit of mixed feeling on it, but I'm still happy that I was able to like actually play through and beat it. I don't know. I couldn't help but feel a little let down with how like the story kind of unfolded up to that very end, and I'm just sitting there like, all right, I'm just swept away like a giant pile of shit, which this felt like sometimes. So maybe it is fitting. I don't know, man. I'm torn on this one. I really am. I'm struggling to kind of have an idea of where I'm going to sit. I mean, again, at least I was able to have the opportunity to beat it like 9 years later. But look at me, I did it, which I thought was kind of funny when I went to make my my new save file. The last time it was played was like July of 2011. It was like I had it for a couple months and I'm like, oh, something else is gone.
You know what the crap part is that like you only played it for those couple of months and all of the DLC was already released by July 2011.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Fucking dumb.
It was like, oh, let's pre-order it. You get like an extra 2 missions. This is great. Hey, by the way, it's June. Here's more DLC.
It wasn't even
what?
June. It took 2 weeks for the next DLC to come out.
Oh God.
And then
that was a pre-order bonus.
Was it the May one? And then it was like every 3 weeks after that was a new mission.
Yep. All right, what about you, Harry?
So little background. So reason I haven't been on the show recently is because I had some shit go down at my store and I got stuck on third shift for a little bit and had to work a shit ton of hours, and it was a super miserable time in my life for me. So when it came to my free time, I looked to do things to cheer me up, get me out of that mental state, and just kind of help me forget about things. So my final thoughts are that this game did nothing of that for me.
Oh, I'm not laughing at your plight, but
That's just it. That's just this game did nothing for me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
That is a final thought.
Yeah. I was really let down revisiting this game. I think it had some chops and some credit when it came out. I'm really trying not to, as much as I can and have as much as I have mentioned the other Rockstar games since then, I'm trying not to hold it to that standard. It's just the evolution of it, and I still think in the grand scheme of things in the catalog of Rockstar games, this is on the lower end of what Rockstar has produced. I think there's some bare bones fun to have in this game, and very little. I think my sole enjoyment out of this is because I like true crime stuff. If you don't like true crime, this game is going to be an absolute slog fest for everybody.
That's exactly how it felt, though. It was like a big slog.
Oh, 100%. So, all right, let's move into the score.
The score.
Let's go in reverse order. I'll go first this time.
Ooh, reverse cowgirl.
Reverse, yep.
Clark's in.
Yeah, I'm in.
Oop, dick in the butt. What?
I am going to say that if you're a true crime fan, this game is worth getting on sale. But other than that, it's an avoid. Harry?
I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 10, which is going to tie with The Unfinished Swan.
All right. Steve?
It's actually going to be a C minus. The only redeeming thing is kind of what Clark was saying is like as a true crime fan, like being able to figure out and solve was fun, but for the story and everything else, that was just way too much of a letdown as that went on. So I can't go any higher than that.
All right, close it out, Joe.
I'm going to give this a 50%, mostly just because, like I said, it had great ideas, poor execution, kind of rates it right around the same area I rated Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Very similar ideas, poor execution.
Fair enough. You know what would be interesting?
If Joe read the commands for games and made his play experience better.
Well, yeah, he should probably do that. This is like the third game in a row.
That's another thing. No. Did you try to look at the controller commands in this game, Clark?
Yeah.
They were only there for running and walking, and they didn't have like anything else.
Oh, yeah, I know.
They didn't have controls for everything in this game.
Yeah.
That was very I had to literally go online to figure out how to do the boxing again because it wasn't in the game.
Jesus.
And the driving shit just I'm done. I'm fucking done.
All right, guys. Well, join us in 2 weeks for another Mubbers.
Another Mubba.
And yeah, we will see you then. Stay lovely.
Love you guys.
Stay sexy.
Stay safe.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on social media and all streaming platforms at Superfun Podcast for more episodes. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend about us and consider becoming a Patreon member for more exclusive content.